Well, good evening, everybody. We've arrived at Baconsthorpe Castle in Norfolk to carry out an impromptu paranormal investigation, essentially using night shot camcorders, hopefully, and of course with the ghost box. It's just coming down to twilight here at the castle. There's still a number of people here, children and some people on motorcycles that have arrived, so there may be some disturbance from them while I'm talking to you. But you are much aware of the history here, and I'll just recap very briefly. It's a late medieval castle built by the Halton family, a very unscrupulous family, I hasten to add. They were here for over 200 years before literally being forced into bankruptcy during the English Civil War, because they were supporters of the Royalists and the parliamentarians had their pound of flesh, as a result of which they were forced to demolish part of the castle and to sell it off. Initially they lived in the inner gatehouse, which is the scene of much of our activity, but the outer gatehouse later became their home, and it stood as a beautiful pepperpot house until it collapsed in a very heavy windstorm. It is very, very open here, right across to the North Sea, so these buildings have to be quite substantial to last the time that they've been here. And this house, before it fell apart, originally stood from the 15th century onwards. But I'm absolutely delighted to be here because the atmosphere in here you could cut with a knife. We've just been inside the inner gatehouse, and we can certainly feel an atmosphere building in that particular building, and that's where we're going to focus for tonight. I'm absolutely excited, I'm ecstatic, and of course joining me for this particular investigation here tonight is our friend Eddie Mallett. And do you want to come over, Eddie?
Hey, hi there.
Well, you've been down there, Eddie, and we'll just very quickly recap. Have you felt on anything or
straight away? As soon as I went into the left-hand side tile, an immediate bang straight in the forehead with definitely spiritual headache.
Eddie's had his psychic bang for the evening.
Oh yes, hopefully many more.
I've certainly, as I say, to reiterate, felt an atmosphere there. I'm certainly hopeful that they're going to communicate. And just to recap very briefly, last time we were here, we picked up this amazing EVP, and they were talking about a murder. Have a listen. I know you're standing behind us, I know you're watching us. So if we're going to capture activity like that tonight, it's going to be absolutely amazing, isn't it?
I love it. And I want to find out more about this jewel that's been stolen. So
Eddie picked up something about a jewel being stolen last time, so perhaps something might reveal itself from there. I am hoping to touch in with the history and the legend of this place through spirit. And if I can project that to you, seated comfortably in your own homes, from where we are in the middle of nowhere, which is quite an isolated part of the countryside, then tonight is going to be very special. And we'll speak to you just before we start, a little bit later on when it falls into dusk. And I thank you for joining us here today. Okay, we've now arrived at dusk inside the inner gatehouse. We're in the steward's room, and here we're hoping to pick up some hopefully live ghost box activity, which will be broadcasted simultaneously on Facebook. The reason that I'm doing this, quite simply, is that my detractors have accused me in the past of manipulating the audio from the ghost box to suit a particular question, which is complete and utter nonsense. But obviously, to allay those fears, what I'm going to do is to give it to you live, so you can actually hear for your own ears exactly what is being said. And as I say, this is going to be broadcasted simultaneously on Facebook. And of course, we're hoping tonight that we'll pick up some interesting activity following on from our last session here, which picked up a number of voices screaming murder and a few expletives added to that as well, as you would expect from these ancient and haunted sites. I'm certainly of the opinion that over the centuries many nefarious deeds have been committed in and around this castle. It is fairly isolated, it's out of the way, And when you consider going back perhaps 100, maybe 200 years, the crimes that people could commit here and get away with, because there's absolutely no transparency for people's actions here. People could just do what they choose to do without any chance of being apprehended by law. I think that when this gatehouse was abandoned, probably about 200 years ago, it was probably used by itinerates sleeping rough here. So, you know, anything could have happened, and especially during the period of the Haydens. A very unscrupulous character was Mr. Hayden, who actually created this castle. And I'm fairly sure that some business dealings that perhaps went wrong were resolved, perhaps not in the way that the other party would have wished, but certainly to the benefit of the Hayden family. So perhaps what has been recorded here in the past was something to do with him. Who knows? This is an exploratory mission tonight to establish exactly what's going on here. And as I've said on many occasions, it is a very haunted site. It has an atmosphere, it permeates through the stonework and the brickwork around the site. And of course it has a tragic history. And every good ghost story has a tragic history, doesn't it?
Who is king or queen? Did you like the royal family?
Do you believe in God? Well, thank you anyway for those who did communicate.
Yeah, we thank you.
And apologies to anybody who didn't like us being here, but we're not here to cause you offence, and we're going to leave you in peace now. I know there's somebody here right now. We're just finishing here. Oh, it's just like a wave of energy that came from here.
Ooh, yeah, it is. I mean, it's ours.
Can you feel it?
Yeah, I can.
It just came in at that moment.
Strong, but I can certainly feel it. Oh, it's getting stronger now as I come towards where you were.